Go. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah. It's that time again. Every Tuesday.
Welcome to the
Hello,
Copper Factory.
Dan.
And to my astute colleague here, Mr. Packer Jack, reporting for duty.
Reporting for duty, sir. How are
How
you,
Ben?
Next time I see you, you're not going to be wearing a hoodie.
I'm going to be a Bobby Dazzler.
You're going to be wearing a t-shirt, maybe a dry fit t-shirt.
Are you packing your Speedo?
I don't think there'd be anything thong with that.
Anything thong with that?
Yeah.
Ben, you need to you need to bring your Speedo too. Maybe the Speedo brothers.
Just remember, Dan, it is February in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and our alabaster skin, they may think that there's actually two white porpoises washed ashore and try to throw us into the water.
Bring your SPF 2000.
SPF 2000. Yeah. So obviously we're all very excited that we're going to be treasure hunting.
We are going to be real
days.
Treasure hunting, like no BS involved. We're going with the #1 rated metal detector in the world. At least that's what we're going to call him.
He's a real Bobby Dazzler. There he is.
I hope you got shirts for all of us like that.
I may have shirts not only for you, I may have shirts for us to be given away. We do game shows, we do giveaways, and we're going to be doing some charity stuff as well too with that. And who knows what we'll find? You know, Gary's on Facebook where everybody can. He's maxed out on the 5,000 friends, but he's got the public figure page too. But you can actually go on there and see some of the finds he's made just in the last couple of weeks. He posted some stuff today that he found, some 17th century copper. Dan, I'm like, boy, he could have waited to find that copper with you.
Yeah, just a couple more days. But
I didn't even know. Yeah, it was this weekend, I believe. He found a hinge to a chest and some small pieces of shot for muskets from the 1700s.
I think we're gonna find something, and here's what my guess is Ben's gonna find it, because he's just Mr. Luck, winning the World Series of Fen. And
I think he won that, and it's actually your turn now, Dan, to win. So
maybe one of the ladies.
There's no question having Ben, and probably more so Ashley, are going to be good luck charms for us. So,
well, it's going to be the three of us with our three beautiful ladies.
Yep. Let's say hello to who we got in here. I see Little Engine Tyler. Davio's in there going nuts that Dan's going to be talking about illustrations again tonight. We got Calazars, Debbie,
Laurel,
Express.
Our friend Laurel, who's
questions.
Our friend Laura, who is actually from Florida, said it's going to be 90 degrees this weekend. I may melt.
Yeah,
that's too warm.
I am going to lather myself in SPF 2000, and
I can just see you showing up with white.
I may pay a couple of Floridians just to walk around fanning me while we're metal detecting. But
no, you're lucky you're bringing your wife with, because I am not going to rub sunscreen on your back.
No, I think, now I use the spray, so I'm self-sufficient with that because, I don't want anybody to see all those tattoos.
That's
Oh yeah, if I've got a tattoo of teachers with ropes that goes all the way across my back.
hey, the Susie Fenhaven is in the house.
Sweet, that's great. JK
Forrest-
Pioneer, look what I have. This is the 1 troy ounce of silver that JK just handed to me at World Series of Fen that he gave to everybody that came.
That's what I get for not going, is I didn't get the silver from JK. The last piece he gave me was in Yellowstone. He gave me a piece.
Yeah. That's funny. Usually when you talk about Yellowstone, people just give you a piece of their mind, but he actually gave you silver. So that's fantastic.
Hey, Truckin' Treasure. I got the honor of meeting Truckin' Treasure earlier last month in February. He showed up at one of my art shows down in Florida. I met all kinds of people that weekend.
So my fellow Americans, I'm here to tell you tonight that the state of the chase is still strong. God bless you. And may God bless all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go. Saved you from any state of the state things tonight.
You guys better thank us, because you could be either watching the State of the Union or the State of the Chase.
Well, I'm definitely going to be watching Oak Island tonight, and depending upon when Ben watches it, we may go live later and actually do a talk or do that tomorrow or something. But I know, depending upon how this goes, unless we don't put everybody to sleep, there may be a little bit of watching Oak Island after this. But you don't have to watch Oak Island to participate in one of the greatest events that you ever could, and that is.
You don't know Jack.
You don't know Jack.
I don't know Jack.
It is the #1 game show of the chase, because it's the only game show in the chase. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right in. Yes.
You don't know Jack. Each show we'll invite Jack Stoof to join us for a fun segment. You invited him, Dan, right? Is he in Zoom? Is he in the waiting room or not?
Not yet, but he might be late tonight, so we'll just go ahead without him.
All right. It's a fun segment to learn more about Jack without asking him solve or chase-related questions unless he volunteers to do so. There's no doxing going on here, and the information, unless Jack gives us fresh content, has been shared elsewhere before on previous shows, websites, books, photos, articles, or other publications. We may revisit some of his emails to searchers or simply ask trivia-related questions like the ones we're about to do to launch this new feature, not so new anymore, episode 6. Just remember, Copper Dan is one of the only searchers that we know of that has sat in an airport and quaffed beers with Jack to get to know him since Forrest ended the chase. He knows Jack. So let's play what, Copper Dan?
You don't know Jack.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. Copper Dan, take it away.
On Discord this weekend, our good friend Tyler G shared his emails to Jack that received responses. In one email, Tyler asked Jack if he'd be willing to share one adjective to describe the blaze. Jack did respond with a one-word answer to Tyler. What was the adjective that Jack sent back to Tyler? Tyler is not eligible to answer this question. Sorry, Tyler.
Sorry,
that's
Tyler.
What you get. That's what you get.
So anybody who was on Discord is going to know this right away, but Jack actually did respond to give Tyler a word that was an adjective to describe the blaze. You guys are about 20 seconds behind us, so Dan and I are just going to chill, relax. I'm not even going to do the fake Jeopardy music. I'm going to actually sip a glass of wine right now because it's Fat Tuesday. There it is. The answer's in. It's Forest Frenzy, again with the correct answer.
Lazy.
Jack does have a sense of humor back from his Onion and Wonkat days. Yes. And whatever the heck the name of that was, the Georgetown Heckler, his satirical paper. At least he got an answer, Tyler. A lot of people didn't get answers to their emails. You asked for a word, he gave you the word. Blazy.
Lazy.
All right, question number 2. In Jack Gets Email number 1, Jack was asked by searcher Emily what he took with him when he went boots on the ground. Jack responded with a list that included items that he also mentioned. And he also mentioned one that he took with him that he actually never used? What was the item Jack took boots on the ground that he did not use?
Interesting question. That's a good question.
That Forrest Frenzy is just searching the internet. He's going to Jack Gets Email 1 right now. He's reading through it. I gotta give someone credit who's that's quick on the Google searches. That's into You Don't Know Jack. It's gonna have a lot of entries.
A couple people have said bear spray.
Bear spray is incorrect. Compass is incorrect. GPS is incorrect. Swiss Army knife is close, but it's incorrect.
His book. Extra
Remember,
socks, shovel, metal detector, deodorant. We get all kinds of people guesses, throwing everything, seeing what sticks.
Forrest Frenzy is going to be mad. We may make an exception, but since you've won so many already, Forrest Frenzy, I'm sticking it to you right now. I apologize. All right, we'll go 5 more seconds. Ben says he didn't use the poem either. Nice, Treasure Warriors. Great answer. Sophie D says Rambo knife.
Rambo knife.
I think this is exactly what it was. And look, this one has a little National Park Service logo on it on top of a Yellowstone National Park. It's a utility knife. It was the words he used were utility knife. I get Swiss Army knife. I get Rambo knife. I think we'll throw 2 more slips of paper name into the pot when we do the big prize giveaways from You Don't Know Jack.
Hey, did you grow up with a Rambo knife?
I did not. I grew up with a banjo on my knee. No, okay.
I remember when the movie First Blood came out. I was probably between 10 and 13 years old, and I ordered out of the back of a magazine. It was like $9.99 for my first Rambo knife. It had the compass. You unscrewed it, and you had the fishing line and some matches in it. It was a piece of junk. I wish I would have kept it though.
That was a great movie when that first came out. First Blood.
I watched epic. That. It's still a great movie.
I think when K-Pro and Mike were on the other night, I chimed in with a line, and Mike got it right away. It was Colonel Troutman from Colonel Samuel Troutman. I love those lines. Like he'd talk about Rambo, and he'd say things like he'd eat things that would make a billy goat puke. And he said, if you're going after Rambo, you better remember one thing. What's that? A good supply of body bags. Yeah,
remember that. Yep.
Classic line from Rambo. All right, let's keep it going. Question number 3.
Number 3, on September 10th, 2010, Jack wrote an article for Wonkette titled "The Night Before 9/11: A Holiday Poem." It contained a satirical poem version of The Night Before Christmas. In Jack's poem, who did he replace Santa Claus with?
Oh, who did he replace Santa Claus with in his weirdo 9/11 version of The Night Before 9/11?
Jeez. There's a lot to this Jack character. Rambo would do things to a goat that a farmer wouldn't do. William.
Oh, William.
Oh, William.
Oh. Redneck Express says Osama bin Laden. That is incorrect, although he does have a beard. I don't think this person had a beard. Has a beard. Had a beard. Has a beard.
The Easter Bunny, Hooley said. I think
Sophie D says George W. Bush. You're close. One might say, Sophie D, you're a heartbeat away on George W. Bush. Oh, that's going to give it away.
Yeah, I think you gave it away.
Let's wait, though. We'll see.
Come on, guys. You can do it. I think we're about 15 seconds late.
A heartbeat away from George W. Bush. Oh. Somebody says Reagan. That's D.B. Cooper. This person could be D.B. Cooper. Who knows?
Colin Powell. No, come on, guys.
Reagan.
Think.
Baby Bush. That is
Cheney. There, finally, somebody got it.
There we go.
Jeremy Fordham with
there
Cheney.
It is. The night before 9/11, a holiday poem where the evil, in Jack's mind, Dick Cheney is Santa. All right. Question number 4, me. This is the last and final question tonight. You got Jack. Good luck, everybody. On Jack's Twitter page, he has a background photo of a rather unusual ancient mosaic that was discovered by archaeologists in Turkey during excavations in 2012. The mosaic, also called the skeleton mosaic, depicts a skeleton holding a drink with an inscription in ancient Greek. What is the English translation of that inscription?
Oh, you were going hard with the last question.
See, well, we go easy and we go hard, right? And you can see it there. And look at what Jack's title is on his Twitter page under his name. Can you read that, Dan?
Treasure Finder.
Jack Stoof at Stoof. Title Treasure
Finder.
Jack.
And he, you know, I think he's earned that title.
Forest Frenzy says, I had it first. We'll go back and check the tape. Forest Frenzy. We'll make sure that we get it in there. Redneck Express says, bottoms up. I agree. What was the translation on the skeleton mosaic? The
Live and
inscription in
die.
ancient Greek. Live and die is not correct.
Sorry, Davio.
All right, we're going to go 15 more seconds.
I and I.
Doody, 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 doo.
Doot, 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 doot.
AK Pioneer says, I don't Twitter. A lot of people don't Twitter anymore. A lot of people don't Facebook anymore.
You know, I joined Twitter because of Jack Stoof, because he tweeted about me and I went, my gosh, I need to join Twitter. And that's the only time
Davio's close. Davio's kind of close, but live to drink. That's the inscription on my headstone someday. The blood is life. Forest Frenzy again with his Google search finger.
Be cheerful, enjoy life.
Be cheerful and enjoy life. How about that for a message tonight? A skeleton leaning back, drinking out of what looks like some type of coconut shell or goblet, saying, be cheerful and enjoy life. Here's to all of you. We hope that you continue to be cheerful and enjoy life. Thanks for playing You Don't Know Jack. Tune in next week for another riveting episode. Also, we will change it up from time to time with live guests like Jack. Is he's still not here, Dan?
No, we're working on that.
And to ask some questions, questions about others in the community. We've done Cynthia, we've done Dale, we've done Ben Napple. But congratulations to those of you that got the answers correct. 5 of you, I guess, maybe even 6, even though there were only 4 questions. You guys knew a little bit about Jack. But what, Dan? For the rest of them?
They don't know Jack.
They don't know Jack.
But I do.
But you do.
But I do.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing just to get us back. And I think people were saying, oh, Packer Jack's got some stuff in a PowerPoint. I do have one thing that I do want to share tonight, but Dan has just been keeping the dream alive with the illustrations and the fact that he has those illustrations that are the different versions that he got from Nelica. And I agree with him. Let's keep the dream alive and look at some more stuff, because obviously Dan's having fun with it. Hopefully you guys are too. And then when Dan finishes up and we have time, I'll finish up with what I've got.
All right, give me 1 second here. I should have had this up and ready, but I did not. All right.
Hey, thanks, Hooli. She says, thumbs up for these guys if you're having fun. Forest Frenzy says, I love this game. Lucky Digger, yeah, I always take advice from skeletons. Dan has lost so much weight running, he may eventually look like a skeleton. So, yeah.
You know, I didn't realize how thin I looked until I saw a picture of myself recently, and I went, goodness, I need to eat more.
You do. You're turning into the meek.
I'm turning into run, Forrest, run.
And this is no place for the meek, Dan. So
no place for the meek. Hey, we're going to talk about the meek tonight. And soon as, all right, where are we at here? All right, are we up?
We are up.
Okay, all right. So this is a patented Copperdan PowerPoint, not to be confused with the K-Pros.
I think we should call them copper points.
Copper point. Hey,
Yep.
It's even kind of copper colored letters here.
It is.
I should probably, that's kind of orange, but I'll try to find some copper colored letters. All right. Before we move forward, I would like to recap Teachers with Ropes and No Place for Biddies.
Sweet.
Teachers with Ropes. The teacher is halting. It is the only place in the thrill of the chase that suggests a halt. And you can see what I did here is this is the actual picture out of the book. And I highlighted the rope red, and you'll see why in a little bit. I also highlighted the driver's head. And if you're like, we've gone over this already, well, just stick with me. I have a method to my madness, and there might be somebody new just tuning in. So I just wanted to do a recap. Add to the teacher halting, you could also find the letters to the word Madison within the teacher. You can find the M, the A, the D, IS, and O, and the N, hinting that the Madison River is where warm waters halt. The folding together of the illustration and no place for biddies. And hang on here, I got to get this out of my head. Makes 1 out of 2. The Madison River begins where 2 rivers end, 2 into 1. We're not going to go over it this time, but if you go back to our first video about the illustration where we did the folding over, and that was shown to me by Gallatin Ghost. And it really does. There really is a mirrored image. So if you haven't seen this, go check out our first video on this. All right. The rope the kids are holding onto represents the Madison River. The man in the car is Harlequin Lake. So this is the illustration that I found in my illustrations from Nelica, and you can see there is some differences. The biggest being that the end little girl here does not have any flowers on her dress. And also no place for biddies. The older woman here, again, doesn't have any flowers in her dress. And the young boy, which we assume Forrest, does not have any stripes on his shirt. Also, this picture was modified when they actually used it in the book, because obviously they cut out this, I would assume, to be Forrest. They cut him out. And they also they mirrored, you can see the guy here, this is where the fold is, and they mirror these 2 people and add them over here where they had to remove the biddies. So this is where I did an overlay. Let me go back a couple slides here. All right, so this one, I highlighted this rope red. So I printed out a screenshot of the Madison River. So this right here is the Madison River. And I wanted to see if the rope actually mimicked the river. You have to use your imagination here. It's not a perfect overlay, but you can see the first swoop, which would be this swoop here, and then another swoop here. And then this is where it comes down. It comes up to the next kid. And it comes up abruptly like this, and then levels off, which is over here. Again, this is all subjective, and you could argue this each way. What's really neat is the shape of the driver's head and the shape of the lake, very close. And it just so happened, what I tried to do when I overlaid this is blow up to get the sizes equal. So right here is where the first teacher is, and the lake and the driver head, I tried to line them up somewhat to see where the end was. So these are the bows on the back of the little girl's dress, and right here exactly is Packer Jack.
9 Mile Hole.
9 Mile Hole.
And Rock. Yep, 9 Mile Hole.
You can't make this stuff up.
And there are some people, Dan, if you go back one slide to the girl's bow, go back one more, that those 2 loops on the top of the bow could actually be omegas, the 2 omegas too.
Okay.
So there's people that have argued that.
Gallatin was on one of her overlays showed where these 2 bows. This is the dry and the wet creek.
Yeah.
So you have to use your imagination. And what did Forrest tell us? Imagination is more important than knowledge.
Than a D in knowledge. He prayed for D's.
All right. So that was just to kind of sum things up with that before we moved forward. So now we're moving forward. And here we have This is the illustration from My Spanish Toy Factory. There does not seem to be any differences between the copy that I have, Copper Dan, and the copy that was used in A Thrill of the Chase, the original, the final draft, I should say. What I find odd is the woman's arm. So far, the illustrations are, I wrote this wrong. Well, as far as they're done very well as far as geometric shapes and the sizes of the subjects. So like the length of the arms, the feet, torsos and stuff, it's all been done fairly well until here, that arm, it just doesn't. So the question is, and I didn't do any more, I just blew it up here so we could really take a look at it. So I left this to discuss between us, but the question is why? Now, I know, John, you talked to me about Fen Rock.
Yeah, there's different angles of the way you can look at Fen Rock. And if you believe that if between the two boys in the back, that between or behind them, and if you look inside with the top of the arm arch, that that's actually an outline of Fen Rock, that white part that's in between both of them and underneath the arm, shaped similarly, which is interesting because you have the picture of Marvin next to Fen Rock in the book and the big picture. But it's just very interesting that you could look at that as well too. You know, there's people that talk about, you know, in his upper arm, if you look at the folds in his shirt, does it actually spell mile? You know, where that doesn't look like it's a connected M, but kind of a weird M, and then the I, and then the L going into, and then the circle at the top of the cap, the line coming around it for E, Fen Rock there. But there's a lot of other, I've heard people talk about this, the marbles being Braille and all kinds of stuff. Dan, what were your thoughts as you looked at this drawing and anything that was standing out to you?
You know, no, I can't. I've tried to flip this over. I kind of wondered if, you know, I was trying to look at this as a mirrored image, you know, because he's done that other places in the illustrations where they've done mirrored images, and just wondered, you know, I wish this is the only copy we have, so we don't have another copy that was like, I don't know that if there was a draft before this and this was modified like this, or if this is what Forrest told the illustrator to draw, or Forrest himself drew it, or.
Can you stop screen sharing just for a second, and so I can show that picture, just so
yes,
people don't know, people can understand what I'm talking about. So it'd be, you know, is that shape in between the arms, you know, and obviously I highlighted a little bit weird, but are we actually looking at Fen Rock behind both of them? All right, back to you, man.
Well, I'm just going to take a gander over to, I want to see what chat's up to. Copper, this is from Davio, the boys at both ends. What do you mean by that, Davio? Where are you going with that? I do know.
We're not talking about Michael Jackson tonight, Davio.
No. I do know that on the one page, they do use the actual illustration that you guys are looking at. And then on the top of the first page of the chapter, they only use the boys on both ends with the marbles. So
I apologize for that comment about Michael Jackson. I don't want to be starting something.
Oh, geez. Just beat it, would you?
The fun never ends on AARP radio. It's Copper Dan and Packer Jack. All right, you got more slides to show us?
That's all I got for you.
That's all you got. So yeah, I do think that you know, just you know what Gallatin described, and thanks again to Gallatin Ghost for sharing and spending so much time talking to you, Dan. I mean, that was awesome. And all these people that have certainly come before me in the chase that did a lot of the heavy lifting that Jack took advantage of. Joking. We're
never going to get Jack to come on the show if we keep doing that now.
It's just going to be called the Copper Jack. is what it'll be called. It'll be you and Jack.
Wouldn't that be something some night if I show up and I'm like, so sitting in for Packer Jack tonight is Jack.
Yep. Sent me on a slow dildo lube boat to China. All right. Oh, for those that didn't see that episode, I'm just wondering how I went so far off the rails, but it does actually tie back into a previous. You don't
suddenly little kids are watching the show and their moms are running, putting their hands over their ears. They said, that sick old man said what? Yes.
Sicko old man said what? So no, just getting back, whether everybody agrees exactly on teachers with ropes or whatever, going back to last week, it's really hard to debate the Harlequin lake shape. I mean, we looked at that. It's really hard you could say it matches the mountain range or the river or the north side of the river, whatever you want. But that stuff isn't unconvincing to me. I understand for people that hate the 9 mile solve and think it's the worst thing since sliced bread. We're not going to convince them, but it's some compelling information that goes along with everything we discussed last week and the week before.
And I'm not here trying to convince or unconvince anyone with 9 mile hole. What I am trying to really show is that I really feel that there is something to the illustrations.
Davio's saying vertical and horizontal stripes with that. So I think he's talking about the shirts on the two guys on the end. So I don't know if you want to pull that slide back up just so, because I'm sure Davio is ready to throw a brick at his computer screen that we glossed over that. And Davio, we love you. So we're going back to it because of you. And if you want to start typing in, now you're saying latitude and longitude for the stripes on the shirt.
Hang on 1 second. I'm working on this. All right. So we got horizontal and then we got the vertical.
Yep.
Which is interesting that Tavio points that out, because if you do go back to, do I have it in here? I do not, but there were horizontal stripes added to this shirt. So
right.
That is interesting.
Besides the fact that his ear in that photo is turned sideways and it's the national park symbol with 9 in the middle of it.
It's you can find all kinds of things.
Never ends.
The words E and the words ES are added to the young boy, clearly added after the fact, before the final draft that was put in the book.
And the only thing I heard is some people thought those were numbers, like that the E was a 3, and so
it's not just an E and S. So you have to turn it sideways, E and S, and you have to mirror it as well. But that whole illustration is about mirrored images. So
Davio is paying tribute to Forrest by not using the second D in middle, just like Forrest took the D out of knowledge. Nicely done, Davio. I noticed it.
Nice.
What else you got, Dan? Is that it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my goodness, it's 8:30. We got time here. So let me figure out what I got.
I guess I didn't really talk about the flowers on. I guess I forgot to bring this up. I had
you want me to wait? You want to bring something up or just talk about it?
real quick. Let me just
go ahead.
Let me jump back into this.
You bet.
All right. So in this slide, these are the drafts that I got before the final drafts. And as you can see, the flowers are missing here, the flowers are missing here, but they were clearly added here. And I don't have the slide with the old biddy.
And he blacked out the 2 books, the girl's shirt and the teacher's skirt too,
right. Those things were added too, but what I'm most interested in is the way the flowers tie the 2 chapters, that not only the 2 chapters together, but they specifically tie this girl, which is at the end of the rope. And if you go back to No Place for Biddies, to be biddiful is to be meek. And the whole chapter is about Forrest not being able to cross the street, or in this case, cross something, which we could say crossing a river, since we're using this rope to represent the Madison, and this girl at the end is crossing. Right. Again, not my work, the work of people that are much smarter than I.
Sophie D says, what makes you think those are flowers and not a forest? Who knows? Could be trees from above. Some people thought the stripes on the boy's shirt and the flowers were actually stars and stripes.
Could be a canopy of
under the canopy of stars.
Under the canopy of stars. This could be a shot looking down.
Right.
It could be.
Yeah. Also, there's the ruby from Brown versus the Board of Education, the Norman Rockwell. I actually have a couple slides on it if we want to look at it, if we have time. But
yeah, absolutely. Because that is interesting. So in the Teachers with Ropes illustration, why didn't he just have the illustrator just draw any little girl? Why did they specifically,
Yeah, I think he thought it was important to him. Oh, if the trees could talk. It's going to be a fun one. I'm actually going to escape.
Okay, so
back out of this. Dan,
now we're moving on to professional PowerPoints here.
Yeah, I'm going to go down to the Ruby slides that I have.
We went from the grade school, kindergarten PowerPoint. Now we're on to senior high.
So can you let me know if you can see, Dan, the actual painting of the girl? So yep. Okay, so this is the 1964 Norman Rockwell painting, The Problem We All Live With, and it depicts 6-year-old Ruby Bridges walking to desegregate an all-white public school in New Orleans, Louisiana. You can see if you look on the back wall that in front of the two gentlemen in front of her, up in the corner, you can see KKK. There's the N-word above her head. And so obviously this painting, Forrest being in the art business and utilizing some of the other Norman Rockwell and Saturday Evening Post drawings, as we showed a couple weeks ago, or I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, we looked at those illustrations, Dan, and so people can go back 2 weeks and look at that presentation where we showed the comparisons of all the things Forrest actually literally traced. And Teachers with Ropes, if you think about that girl second from the end of the rope, besides the ruler in her hand, she has that book in her arm, and it's literally a trace of Ruby Bridges in this photo. This is just 2 quick slides, for those of you that don't know. She attended the segregated kindergarten in 1955. This is from Wikipedia. In early 1960, she was one of 6 Black children in New Orleans to pass the test that determined whether they could go to an all-white William Frantz elementary school. 2 of the 6 decided to stay at their old school. Bridges went to France by herself, and 3 children were transferred to McDonough, number 19, and became known as the McDonough 3. Bridges and her mother were escorted to school by 4 federal marshals during the first day that Bridges attended William Frantz Elementary. In the following days of that year, federal marshals continued to escort Bridges, though her mom stayed behind to take care of her younger siblings. Bridges' father was initially reluctant, but her mother felt strongly that the move was needed not only to give her own daughter a better education, but to take this step forward for all African-American children. Her mother finally convinced her father to let her go to the school. Judge J. Skelly Wright's court order for the first day of integrated schools in New Orleans on Monday, November 14, 1960, was commemorated by Norman Rockwell in the painting, The Problem We All Live With. As Bridges describes it, driving up, I could see the crowd, but living in New Orleans, I actually thought it was Mardi Gras. There was a large crowd of people outside the school. They were throwing things and shouting, and all that sort goes on in New Orleans at Mardi Gras. Former United States Deputy Marshal Charles Burks later recalled she showed a lot of courage. She never cried. She didn't whimper. She just marched along like a little soldier, and we're all very proud of her. As soon as Bridges entered the school, white parents pulled their own children out. All the teachers except for one refused to teach while a Black child was enrolled. Only one person agreed to teach Bridges, and that was Barbara Henry from Boston, Massachusetts. And for over a year, Henry taught her alone as if she were teaching a whole class. That first day, Bridges and her mother spent the entire day in the principal's office. The chaos at the school prevented their moving into the classroom until the second day. On the second day, however, a white student broke the boycott and entered the school when a 34-year-old Methodist minister, Lloyd Anderson Foreman, walked his 5-year-old daughter, Pam, through the angry mob, saying, "I simply want the privilege of taking my child to school." A few days later, other white parents began bringing their children, and the protests began to subside, yet still Bridges remained the only child in her class, as she would until the following year. Every morning as Bridges walked to school, one woman would threaten to poison her, while another held up a Black baby doll in a coffin. Because of this, the U.S. Marshals dispatched by President Eisenhower, who were overseeing her safety, allowed Bridges to eat only the food that she brought from home. Child psychologist Robert Close volunteered to provide counseling to Bridges during her first year at France. He met with her weekly in the Bridges home, later writing a children's book. The story of Ruby Bridges, to acquaint other children with Bridges' story, Coles donated the royalties from the sale of that book to the Ruby Bridges Foundation to provide money for school supplies and other educational needs for impoverished New Orleans school children. So pretty amazing story. You know, you look at that picture and you just think, well, that was the first day of school. And then you think about, you know, everything that she actually went through for an entire year, being taught alone, being segregated, even though she was in an integrated school. And I can see that, you know, this obviously touched Forrest in some way. Although he did copy other Norman Rockwell paintings, it could be just as simple as that. It could have the fact that the action that made this desegregation possible came through what's called Brown versus the Board of Education. And, you know, Jack did say that Forrest walked him through every clue, and there was a nuance to one that I don't know, I forget the word that Jack used, but he was like, he was surprised that Forrest had put that much thought into it. Could it have been this? Potentially, but who knows? We won't know unless Jack ever shares that with us.
You know, this stuff just really makes you come out that there's like a deeper message here with all this. You know?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know what it is, but
I mean,
and I don't claim to know, but so you can see a lot of slides that I have over here, and I'm going to blow through them because I had actually done a PowerPoint a long time before Dan and I came out, and a long time before I went on and did the histogram about the Condor 2 database. This was actually something that when the GPS solve came out, I was very interested in it and wanted to do my own research on it and find out more about it. But, you know, I did watch Randy's 2 videos that he did. He did one and then he did a follow-up because he kind of forgot some stuff. And there's just one thing I'm going to show tonight that is, you know, they have that things that make you go, and there's one thing about that DeLacy location that still makes me go, I don't know what it means, but there was something that was bothering me, and I kept coming back, and I finally figured out what was bothering me, and I'll share with you why it is. It's kind of one of those deep-seated things because I'm a weirdo, but I'll let you know. But if my thought where I thought Randy wasn't so much potentially flawed was that to believe that there were coordinates, that a pilot in Forrest Fenn took a map and plotted coordinates on it, and then spent that time, that 15 years writing, coming up with those numbers, that if you are not going to then take the 12 degrees from the benchmark map and subtract 2 or not, takes you to that GPS location by DeLacy Creek, right? So you have to start off with the belief that the original location of just the poem itself, unless you believe that when he said that he altered the poem while he was writing it, and he had the words bones and stones originally instead of cease and peace, that bone would have had the word one in it and stones would have had the word one in it. Were those the two, but they didn't flow through the GPS solve correctly, so he took them out and then created the first stanza where it says, as I have gone alone in there, which has the 2 ones up there, as opposed to starting with begin at where warm waters halt. If begin at where warm waters halt is the first clue. So that's interesting to think about. If you believe in the homophones and you believe in GPS, that's great, or at least you're curious about it. I'm not here in any way, shape, or form to say that I'm for it or against it. There was a time right after, obviously, K-Pro and Cynthia and Justin made those videos and they went and everybody was excited about it. That's when I was really looking into it when I did this the first time. So if you believe in what Randy was saying, you would have to believe that Forrest published The Thrill of the Chase with the poem in it that was not up against a benchmark map at that time. So the benchmark map obviously came out in Too Far to Walk, in the back of Too Far to Walk. So you have what, between 2010 to 2013, the timing of those publications, where how could you potentially solve a coordinates or GPS solve unless you had specialized knowledge to know that you would have to have a good map that would have the 12 on it that actually cuts through Yellowstone in Too Far to Walk. So I thought potentially a little bit of a flawed there, and it'd be interesting to hear Randy, you know, I'm not here to debate, but to see how Randy would talk through that or debate that point of, yeah, there was no benchmark map when the poem was first launched. That came out 2 years later. I mean, someone could argue, well, Forrest felt like, boy, I didn't give enough, so now I've got to give more information and have this there. But anyways, there's one thing that bothers me, and it's trees, and I'll show you why. And I think trees are always important to us in the Chaser. Some people believe that the blaze might have been a tree. We've got the oil tree that Jack talks about. We've got people, you know, grid searching around trees, marking trees. Were there fake blazes? Did Forrest, Forrest even said a tree can be a blaze. So I think there's hopefully some stuff in here that will make some sense to people. Again, I'm going to fire through this. This was Forrest's statement. I do not know the person who found it, but the poem in my book led him to the precise spot. Again, you can debate that, whether it's found through homophones and coordinates, or Forrest just believes that the poem and the thrill of the chase took him to that location to find it, even though we know Jack spent 25 days searching for it and grid searching for it. If you believe in GPS, there's some ways to defend that. You have Forrest sending information and actually writing in Cynthia's book, talking about counting minutes and seconds. And obviously minutes and seconds are used in defining locations and plotted coordinates, and of course GPS. Forrest had in one of the scrapbooks, obviously the Homo sapiens one, he put right way, wrong one. So think about flutterby and different uses of words. If we are to believe that in any way, shape, or form, Forrest was using scrapbooks to help, if there actually was a coordinate solve, he could be hinting that you need to write numbers down from the words, and where appropriate, list them from top to bottom to have the correct map coordinates. This could have been a tip if somebody was saying, I think I'm close, but it's not in the exact spot. And we saw how on that first day that K-Pro and Cynthia went out to look for it, they were actually in the wrong location and had to add a decimal point to it. So could you have the wrong one? Potentially, or is wrong one just another tip? And then Forrest talked about a general solve and a correct solve. So it could be that there's a general way to solve it with the poem, but I think some people took that to there's a precise solve and there's a general solve. The reading of the poem and the taking the journey from the beginning to the end is the general solve, is the correct solve to actually utilize the homophones in the numbers. And then if you believe in DeLacy Creek in that location, you look back to when Forrest said that he cut trails for the Forest Service before he just prior to the military. If you look back on those years and when the Forest Service was clearing trees in certain areas, it would actually match up with the areas just north of Shoshone Lake, DeLacy Creek, that Forrest potentially was clearing trees there back during that time and could have actually spent some time around DeLacy Creek. Again, I'm not here to defend a GPS solve or a 9 mile solve. These are things that I was thinking about back at the time when GPS came out. If one is to believe the coordinate solve, I'm at the third point. You must agree that Forrest was a genius, and therefore he spent 15 years marrying the words to the homophonic numbers coordinate solve. I don't know. That's what I was thinking back in April of 2021. The final point is true. Like all of you, I hope we'll have closure with verification in 2022 beyond simply having more and more folks in the search community doubling and tripling down that theirs is the correct solve with nobody verifying it for us. I don't want to get into page 99. One of the things people say is it was as simple as Forrest just saying you have to cross water, you have to cross a river. So all the work that went into this was Flytouse and the arrow coming down from the mountain. And is that Haynes Mountain or is that whatever is? It's just Forrest just saying, hey, you dummies, you have to know that you have to, it's no place for the meek is getting across a body of water in a river. But here's where GPS, where I went off the reservation back in April of 2021. So I started looking at, anything that was similar to anything in the book. This was the actual picture from, I think, Cynthia or K-Pro's video of from the opposite side of the place where the supposed nook was for the GPS solve. And it always interests me that you have these two square or vertical, one square kind of notches cut into these trees that were around the GPS location. And obviously one of those trees was damaged. So you could say a damaged blaze or a partially damaged blaze if there was actually more than one tree that was part of the blaze, if you were to believe the GPS solve. But quite interesting that literally you can tell it's doesn't look fire stripped, and you have the bark at the bottom of it. But you see some trees in the background that are also missing some bark as well too. But you have those obviously notches in that location. You could marry it to saying, it goes to page 99. You could say, here's the picture of Forrest with his axe, and Forrest was in the Forest Service, and he actually cut those notches into the tree. So there's all kinds of ways you could try to justify and go back and reverse engineer GPS if you wanted to. Here's another one I looked at. here's Packer Jack in his complete madness back in April of 2021 saying, wow, are those two, the other two wagons in the back don't have a full door with a window? Are those actually the two trees with the notches? Is the chest in the middle? Is the young tree, depicted in there? Could this be the GPS solve? I'm not buying what Packer Jack was selling back in April 2021, but I wanted you guys to see that because that's not the one thing I wanted to share with you tonight. What I really wanted to share with you was trees and what's going on with trees in Yellowstone. I'm not going to read this article, but it's by Aaron Shanahan, and it talks about, white bark pine and pines being destroyed by the native bark beetle. That there's also white pine blistering. And when you see a lot of these trees that aren't fire damaged from the fires of 88 or 2016, like the maple fire just north of the Madison River, a lot of these trees are being damaged by what you would call natural forces. And those natural forces are the bark beetles. So there's some great articles about that you can read in. I'm not going to bore you guys by reading through this. But it's very interesting that, and again, if we go back and look at that tree on the left, you can see how that bark is taken off. Do I know that's exactly from the Beatles? No. And I don't mean George, Paul, John, and Ringo. I mean the pine beetles.
That was a little before all of our time.
Right. Sorry about that. I'm not even going to bring up Bill Haley in the comments then. Here's where Packer Jack went nuts. So for those of you who don't know, I have a biology background. I started off pre-med before I switched to business administration. I took advanced botany courses, and I was out in forests measuring trees, knowing the different types of leaves, knowing what you can eat and not eat, eating wild mint off the ground and all of those things. And I realized what was bothering me about that picture was those cuts in those two trees. So this is just a one page on how trees heal. Trees do not heal wounds the way other living organisms do. They seal them. They can't replace damaged tissue. They've developed a clever way of dealing with potentially life-threatening wounds through a process called compartmentalization. So a tree seals itself off so that nothing can get into where those cuts were made. And it does it in 4 stages. The first one is called a wall number 1, and that wall usually starts on the top and the bottom to make sure that it's covering up and starting to plug any vascular tissue that could get into what you literally call a wound, a tree wound, so that nothing can spread into that cambium of the tree. And the second wall is formed by the thick wall late wood growth ring interior and exterior to the wound. So you've got it coming from the outside and the inside. The third wall of 4 is ray cells, and they start to form a barrier that makes sure that the decay stops that goes in. And then the last is the strongest of the 4 walls, also know the barrier zone. It's a special woody tissue on the exterior of the tree. And you'll see that when we go back to look at the GPS trees. The process can be seen on trees that have been pruned or damaged, so on and so forth. Again, sorry for the science lesson there, but here's an example of looking at a tree that's 3 years after this branch was removed. And you can start to see that O-ring that's a different color that is that wound healing property that a tree goes through. Here's what a tree would look like 5 years after removal of a large, and that ring gets larger. The outside bark, you can see there still has not started to grow again on that circle, on that protective layer. So the bark is on the outside, cambium's on the inside. Obviously it's dried out on the internal part of the wound, all of that cellulose, those cells have dried out. This is what it looks like 10 years after. And now the bark actually starts to grow on that ring. So you start to see where now that ring that was very smooth now starts to look like a tree again. And then after 20 years, it can actually enclose in on itself. And so literally after 20 years, a tree has the ability over time to potentially close that up. And all you see is that small hole in the middle. So let's go back and take a look. Here's a 10-year sample tree, and here's that tree at DeLacy. And this is what was sticking in my brain that I realized I kept coming back to it and I couldn't figure out why. It's because those stupid tree measuring and botany courses that I had, when I looked at that tree, I was looking at my estimation at a tree that had been healing for about 10 years. The bark is now growing back over that layer. That certainly is not a tree with a fake blaze cut by somebody in 2019 or 2020. That is a tree wound that you could argue, well, maybe it's 11 years, maybe it's 7 years. Could be closer to 11 to 12 years, but that is a tree where that wound has been there. If you go back and look at what I gave you for 10 years, that's the thing that makes me go,
Things that make you go,
You know, who was there at DeLacy Creek 10, 11, 12 years ago with an axe to cut those into that tree? And why would they do it on that tree and the tree across from it? Now, the tree across from it is damaged, obviously, because the bark is all gone. So you really don't even see, the potential to be able to age the age of the wound on it. But again, there's Forrest with his axe. There's the two trees. Obviously, the tree on the left, pretty hard to tell how it's healed when there's no bark on it. But that tree on the right, that wound on that tree, and I do not claim to be a tree PhD, but to have studied enough to know that that wound on the right is probably approximately a 10 to 12 year wound. And strangely, that adds up to when Forrest might have hid the treasure. Am I saying he hid it at DeLacy Creek? No, because more people have tried to convince me that it's by 9 Mile. But I do think it's pretty interesting to know that if someone was trying to make a fake location for the chest, or hide the chest at a different location, or have people use the homophones in the poem to get to this location, that cut in that tree on the right is not a fresh cut or a year-old cut or a 2-year-old cut, based on the way that the properties that go around how trees heal. That made me go, who was there to cut that tree, average of 10, 11, 12, 7 to 15, who knows? But pretty close to what a tree looks like around the 10th year of healing. That's what I wanted to share, Jan. It bothered me. And I thought, a lot of people have poo-pooed GPS, and rightly so and wrongly so. And Randy brought it up last week, and I started thinking about this again, and I was looking, and I'm like, my God, that tree, somebody was at that location not 1 or 2 years ago or 3 years ago to try to fake out somebody or trick somebody. That still may be the case, but that cut at least was not made 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. There's definitely the age to that tree wound that's much, much older than somebody making a fake location there in 2018 or 2019 or 2020. So what do you think about that?
We are no longer going to call you Packer Jack. You are now known from this day forward as Professor Jack.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I may be Professor Jack on Saturday.
Because I feel like I just sat through a college level botany class.
Yeah,
very good. Good job. You definitely proved that wound on that tree certainly wasn't a fake blaze that was put there in the last 5 years. Is longer than that anyways. But
what's odd about it is if you believe the homophones, if you believe that Forrest took the time to do that, and then you look at least that tree on the right and say, man, that's 10 plus years that it's looked that way since somebody did that to it. That's pretty interesting to me.
That God, when that whole GPS thing came out, it was just like, oh, finally, like this all makes sense. But then yet, since then it's like, God, that just doesn't seem like Forrest, if I can put it that way.
Right.
I have never fallen down a rabbit hole so deep as this illustration rabbit hole. And I wish I would have seen this more when the chase was still going on, but I'm still enjoying going over it afterwards.
Nomadic Man says Johnny Appleseed. Nicely done. That's great. Ben asked, will there be a study guide for the final? Yes, there will, on the car ride to in the morning on Saturday before we meet with Gary. I will be quizzing you in the car on the way there because you'll be so wide awake being on West Coast time, now being on East Coast time in the morning then.
We're all going to be tired on Saturday morning, but we're all going to be jacked up. No pun intended.
You can get away with that. Do you know why? Because you know Jack.
I know Jack. Yeah.
Hey, we're at 1 hour. I know a lot of you are just dying to get back to the State of the Union or watch Oak Island. And Ben, let us know if you're going to go live or you're going to watch Oak Island.
We have to say that
the watched Oak Island.
The state of the chase is good.
The state of the chase is more confused than ever.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there.
When you see Dan and I next week, if we live through this event of treasure hunting this weekend, we hope to share some great pictures, maybe some video. Ashley and Ben may go live while we're there on their phones, but we are just as excited to share with you guys the experience and memorialize it with you guys. And thanks so much to everybody who's been tuning into the Copper Factory over, the last month and a half. Dan and I are winging it. We're winging it. We're not buying subscribers. We're doing it the old fashioned way. We're not, we're talking about doing more stuff with charity in the future and just having fun with this. So I feel grateful to be with you, Dan. Grateful for everybody out there that's watching live or is going to watch this. And excited to share some good news about Dan finding the 30 gold doubloons from the 1715 Spanish galleon.
Yeah, if you don't see Copper Dan on next Tuesday night, it's because I found something and I don't need to be here anymore. You know what though, I don't get anything from this, so I would still. This is part of Tuesday nights. I love doing this. What I really like is afterwards is going to see how many of you viewed what we put out. The new subscribers is always exciting. We're up to, what are we at, like 460? No. 560.
560. I think when we started, you were around 400. So
yeah,
there's like 150 people that have decided that this is better entertainment than keeping up with the Kardashians. And we appreciate it.
Two old guys.
Hey, can I show one bonus slide?
Bonus. You said bonus.
Yeah.
All right.
I gave this to Ben yesterday.
This is what you guys stay to the end for.
One bonus slide. One bonus slide. On Sunday, Nikki B, who, for those of you that don't know, is one of the biggest DB Cooper activists on their Facebook site. He goes live a lot with Eric Ulis. And, after what happened last week, and I loved Ben's show when he was playing We Are the Champions. This guy, who is one of the biggest critics of Forrest having anything to do with DB Cooper, on Facebook said, maybe Fenn did right, ha ha ha. That is a huge crossing of the Rubicon for anybody on the DB Cooper side to say that. And he says the waters seem really murky on who actually wrote it. Alan and Ben have some pretty good circumstantial evidence for it. So I say, why not? Especially after that latest video that, to me, at the very least, showed Forrest Fenn thought DB was a cool cat. So I think everybody in the DB Cooper community actually loves seeing that video of Forrest that Jens did, saying that he wasn't DB Cooper, but that would be pretty cool if he was. He said he hated the government and DB stuck it to him. This is more in line with Forrest Fenn doing a treasure hunting book. And so we talk about the comparisons. I don't know when I think Shannon Odious Soul is going to be on with Eric Ulis. They're going to be together kind of, Shannon being a Fenn person that's hasn't gone that deep in the DB Cooper stuff yet. And then Eric being a DB Cooper person who hasn't gone that far into the Forrest Fenn stuff yet, to just kind of have a meeting of the minds with people that haven't already duked it out over this stuff. And I think she's going to get to ask him 5 questions and I think she'll talk more about that. I don't know, Shannon, if you've done that already or when you're doing that, but that'll be cool to watch.
I think she's doing it tomorrow. So definitely, guys, tune into the Odious Soul tomorrow. Laurel asked a question: what happened to Treasure Island, Copper Dan? Well, Laurel, when I say he, David, I believe is his name, reached out to me and said he would not come on the show, but he would answer some questions. So Laurel, I know you're working on it. So you have some questions. Why don't you email me your questions? I've had a couple other people. I am currently almost done with the book. I've got about another hour of reading. I will be done with the book. I wanted to read the book before I did any further because I wanted to understand I will say this for those of you guys that have not done the Treasure Island treasure hunt. The Treasure Island book, it was written it was written in the 1800s, late 1800s.
Robert Louis Stevenson, right?
Yeah, it is a little bit of a difficult read. But once you get, it just took me forever to get into it. And then finally the book got going, and you get to understand the style and the writing and the words and stuff. And then it starts to I mean, I'm going to try to, what is it? After we get off, I actually might go try to finish it tonight, because it's just getting to that exciting point of the book now. So it's like, can't put it down. And then I want to see, like, what, how does the treasure hunt tie into this? So I got more research to do, but I will be doing a good part of a show on that coming up soon, I promise.
Yeah, there was a show I watched several years back called The Black Pearl, which is a precursor to Treasure Island. It's pretty good. It's Long John Silver before he has a peg leg, and it's definitely not a PG thing. There's a lot of wildness to The Black Pearl that's a very interesting show, but it's a cool show. The opening scene is fantastic, as it starts off with a pirate ship battle. So if you watch anything, watch episode 1 of, I think it's called The Black Pearl. I'll have to go back and look, but I do want
to plug something for Jenny Kyle. That's not what I wanted to do, though. I'm trying to set this up. I'm going to share screen here real quick here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's right. We forgot about that.
Well, all right, guys. So if you were part of last year's Masquerade, first annual last year, this year is the second annual Masquerade treasure hunt. And let me go to Mysterious Writings, and you can find out there's going to be 6 separate treasure hunts. Let me see if I do this.
Black Sails. Sorry, it's called Black Sails is the name of that show. Find it, check it out. You'll like it.
So here's the 6 for, I believe, to enter this. It is.
Let's go for Wax says your hour is up. I love it.
It's $19 and some odd cents to become a part of the hunt, the Masquerade, the 2022 tribute hunts. And with that, it's a great buy, because you get 6 separate treasure hunts. You get one by Forgotten History Hunts, The Art of Hidden Messages, David Cohen, Domino Adventures, TC, that's the Twin Cities, Minnesota, treasure hunts, and a treasure hunt by Mysterious Writings herself, by Jenny.
And these are all armchair, right, Dan?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
It's going to be released coming very soon here. So anyways, I just wanted to, if you guys haven't, jump over to Mysterious Writings, throw a little support their way. All the money from that goes to charity. And I'm going to reach out to Jenny. I'll put something together a little more professional. I got to find out all the details. But if you guys want to work on, you get, like I say, you get to work on 6 separate treasure hunts for a bargain price of under $20.
That is
a bargain.
So one thing we haven't done yet is I have not gone back to all the videos to watch You Don't Know Jack and put everybody's name in the hat. So I'm going to actually commit to doing that. Probably while I'm getting ready to, or while I'm on the plane flying out to Florida, get all that taken care of. When we get back, Dan and I are going to figure out with Ben, if we find anything, what we find, share that with you. And then if there's any stuff that we can get to give away, we're going to do that. But obviously we're going to want to start giving some stuff away for the people that play You Don't Know Jack, because we don't want you to play in vain.
Well, you can win like a free date with Copper Dan.
Yeah. We may limit Forest, Frenzy to 5 entries a month, but yeah.
Yeah, you guys got to get going. Forest is Forest Frenzy is kind of kicking butt.
For a while,
But,
didn't people think that Forest Frenzy was Jack?
Wouldn't that be something?
I think for a while there was is Forest Frenzy actually Jack? So it would make sense that he's winning. You don't know Jack answering very quickly.
Be funny if he got his own questions wrong though. He's like, I can't remember.
All right, everybody, I've overstayed my welcome. So
yeah, yabba dabba. All right,
have
guys.
a great night.
It has been an
watching
absolute
Oak Island, and
yeah.
everybody
And,
get hunting.
Mr. Professor, we will see you in a couple of days, and I'm looking very forward to that. Meeting you, your lovely wife, Ben and Ashley, Copper Dan, and the one and the only Copper Princess will be making an appearance.
This alabaster skin is going to be in 90-degree weather at 10 a.m. to like 1 a.m. or 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock.
This is like my 5th time this winter going to Florida, so
yeah.
But it's going to be quick. We're leaving Friday. I'll be back. I leave noon Friday. I'll be back probably around noon Sunday.
Yeah, same with me. I mean, we get in late Friday night, and then we're back landing in Milwaukee at 10:30 Central Time or 10:15 Central Time. So in and out, quick in and out. I said it's like we're Entourage. We're just going down to get a metal detecting lesson with Gary and find some treasure, party, and then come back. It's going to be great.
Thank you, Huli. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We will see you all next week. Same time, same place. Like the video, subscribe, and anything else you can think of. We'll
God
see
bless
John.
you, and God bless America.
Thanks. We are.